If you receive Social Security benefits, there is one type of letter that can create immediate concern, and many seniors are starting to see it again. Social Security overpayment notices are being sent to beneficiaries who are being told they may have received more money than they were entitled to receive. In some cases, the amount is small. In other cases, the amount can be thousands of dollars. What makes this especially important is that ignoring the notice could eventually lead to reductions in your monthly benefits. Many people assume that if Social Security made a mistake, they do not have to worry about it. Others believe the letter must be an error and simply set it aside. Unfortunately, that is where problems begin. Even if you disagree with the notice, failing to respond can limit your options and make the situation much more difficult to resolve later. Today, we're going to discuss why these notices are being sent, who may receive them, what your rights are, what steps you can take to protect your benefits, and what many seniors overlook when dealing with an overpayment claim. The first thing to understand is what an overpayment actually means. An overpayment occurs when Social Security believes it paid you more benefits than you should have received under the rules. This does not automatically mean you did anything wrong. In fact, many overpayments happen because of reporting issues, delayed processing, misunderstandings, or administrative errors. What surprises many seniors is that overpayments can develop over months or even years before anyone notices them. By the time a letter arrives, the amount being requested may have grown significantly. For example, imagine someone receiving benefits while continuing part-time work. If earnings information is not updated correctly, or if there is a delay in processing income reports, Social Security may later determine that benefits should have been adjusted. The result could be an overpayment notice asking for money back. Another common situation involves disability benefits. A beneficiary may experience changes in work activity, medical status, or eligibility factors that eventually trigger a review. If Social Security later decides benefits should have been reduced or stopped during a previous period, an overpayment may be assessed. Family benefits can also create complications. Changes involving dependents, marital status, living arrangements, or eligibility requirements sometimes affect payment amounts. When records are not updated promptly, overpayments can occur without the recipient realizing it. Perhaps the most frustrating situation happens when the overpayment appears to result from a Social Security administrative mistake. Many seniors assume that if the agency made the error, the problem will automatically disappear. Unfortunately, that is not always the case. Social Security may still attempt to recover the funds unless certain conditions are met. This is why every overpayment notice deserves immediate attention, even if you believe the decision is incorrect. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming the notice means they have no options. In reality, receiving an overpayment letter does not necessarily mean you must immediately repay the full amount. You may have rights to appeal the decision. You may have rights to request a waiver. You may be able to establish a repayment plan. You may also be able to provide documentation that changes the outcome entirely. The key is understanding which option applies to your specific situation. Let's start with appeals. If you believe Social Security's determination is wrong, you generally have the right to challenge it. Maybe the amount is incorrect. Maybe the dates are wrong. Maybe the agency overlooked important information. Maybe the overpayment never happened in the first place. This is where documentation becomes extremely important. Many seniors throw away old records because they assume they will never need them again. Then years later, an overpayment notice arrives, and finding proof becomes much harder. Documents that may be helpful can include earnings records, tax returns, pay stubs, benefit statements, correspondence from Social Security, bank records, employer reports, and other materials related to your eligibility. The stronger your documentation, the easier it may be to support your position. Another option that many people do not fully understand is a waiver request. A waiver is different from an appeal. An appeal argues that the overpayment determination is incorrect. A waiver generally asks Social Security not to recover the overpayment because certain conditions apply. This distinction is very important. Many seniors immediately focus on whether the overpayment occurred. But sometimes the bigger issue is whether recovery should happen at all. For example, Social Security may consider factors such as whether the recipient was at fault and whether repayment would create financial hardship. This is one reason why you should never assume an overpayment notice automatically means you must repay everything exactly as stated. Every situation is different. Many beneficiaries are living on fixed incomes. Their monthly Social Security payment may cover housing, food, medications, utilities, and other necessities. A significant reduction in benefits can have serious consequences. That is why responding quickly matters. The sooner you act, the more options you may have available. Another area that causes confusion involves repayment plans. Some people receive an overpayment notice and immediately panic because they cannot afford to pay a large amount all at once. If you owe several $1,000s, writing a single check may be impossible. Fortunately, repayment arrangements may be available in some situations. Again, the important thing is communication. Ignoring the notice often creates more problems than the overpayment itself. When beneficiaries fail to respond, recovery efforts may proceed without the information needed to evaluate alternatives. Many seniors are surprised to learn that doing nothing is often the most expensive choice. Even if you disagree with the notice, even if you believe the agency made a mistake, even if you are confused about what happened, responding is generally better than ignoring the situation. Another reason overpayment notices deserve attention is that they sometimes involve events that occurred years earlier. This can make the notice feel confusing or even impossible to understand. You may look at the letter and wonder why Social Security is discussing income, eligibility, or payments from several years ago. The answer is that reviews, audits, corrections, and data updates can take time. Information may be matched against earnings records, tax data, employer reports, or other sources long after the original payments were issued. As a result, a beneficiary who believed everything was settled may suddenly receive a letter referencing an earlier period. This is one reason experts often recommend keeping important records longer than people expect. You never know when documentation from prior years may become relevant. Let's talk about some of the common warning signs that can increase overpayment risk. One major factor is changes in earnings. If you work while receiving certain Social Security benefits, reporting requirements may apply. Earnings changes that are not reported accurately or processed correctly can sometimes affect benefit calculations. Another factor is changes in disability status. Work activity, medical reviews, and eligibility assessments may influence benefits in ways that many recipients do not fully understand. Changes involving family circumstances can also matter. Marriage, divorce, dependents, living arrangements, and other eligibility-related events may affect payments under certain programs. Address changes can create problems as well. If important correspondence is mailed to an old address, beneficiaries may miss notices, requests for information, or deadlines that could affect their case. Many seniors focus only on receiving their monthly payment and assume everything is fine as long as the deposit arrives. Unfortunately, benefit issues often develop behind the scenes long before a problem becomes visible. That is why reviewing notices carefully remains so important. Now let's discuss financial hardship, because this is one of the biggest concerns for retirees. Imagine a retiree receiving $1,800 per month in Social Security benefits. That payment may already be stretched across housing costs, groceries, insurance premiums, transportation, and medical expenses. If part of that monthly benefit is withheld to recover an overpayment, the household budget can become much tighter. This is why understanding your options matters. Many seniors miss opportunities because they assume there is only one possible outcome. In reality, different circumstances may lead to different solutions. The sooner you understand the issue, gather records, and communicate with Social Security, the better positioned you may be to protect your monthly income. Another mistake occurs when beneficiaries assume a notice is fraudulent without verifying it. While scams certainly exist, legitimate Social Security notices also exist. If you receive a letter regarding an overpayment, take steps to verify its authenticity rather than automatically dismissing it. Review the information carefully. Check the details. Compare the information with your records. If you have questions, seek clarification through appropriate channels. The goal is to determine whether the notice is legitimate and what actions may be available to you. Many seniors feel overwhelmed because the letters can contain technical language and references to rules they have never heard of before. That reaction is understandable. The important thing is not to let confusion lead to inaction. Read the notice carefully. Pay attention to deadlines. Review the amount claimed. Look for explanations regarding the period involved. Gather relevant documents. Determine whether an appeal, waiver request, repayment arrangement, or other response may be appropriate. One of the most overlooked parts of the process is timing. Deadlines can affect rights and options. Waiting too long may limit certain opportunities that would have been available if action had been taken earlier. This is why opening and reviewing Social Security mail promptly remains important. Many people place government correspondence aside with the intention of looking at it later. Weeks pass, then months pass. By the time they revisit the issue, important deadlines may have already passed. Prompt attention can make a significant difference. Another issue that deserves attention is record keeping. Good records often become valuable when questions arise. Keeping copies of correspondence, reporting confirmations, earnings records, benefit notices, and other important documents can save time and reduce stress if a dispute develops later. Many people do not think about record keeping until they need proof. By then, finding older documents can be difficult. A simple filing system can make future issues much easier to manage. There is also an important lesson here for anyone currently receiving Social Security benefits. Even if you have not received an overpayment notice, this topic still matters. Why? Because prevention is often easier than correction. Reporting required changes promptly. Reviewing correspondence carefully. Checking benefit statements. And maintaining accurate records may reduce the likelihood of future problems. Most beneficiaries never expect to receive an overpayment notice. Then one arrives unexpectedly. Understanding how the system works before that happens can help you respond more effectively. Let's also address a common misconception. Some people believe that because they spent the money, repayment cannot be requested. Unfortunately, that is not how the process works. Overpayment determinations focus on whether benefits were paid correctly under the applicable rules. The fact that the funds were used for normal living expenses does not automatically eliminate the issue. That is one reason why waiver requests and other available remedies can be so important in certain situations. Another misconception is that small overpayments are not worth addressing. Even relatively modest amounts deserve attention. Errors sometimes occur in calculations, dates, or underlying assumptions. Reviewing the notice carefully helps ensure the information is accurate. In some cases, what initially appears to be a straightforward overpayment may involve facts that change the outcome. Many seniors are also concerned about stress. Receiving a government letter demanding repayment can be unsettling. The good news is that receiving a notice does not mean you are out of options. It does not automatically mean the agency's determination is final. It does not automatically mean your benefits will be reduced immediately without any opportunity to respond. The most important thing is to understand your rights and act promptly. Knowledge often reduces uncertainty. When you understand the process, you can make informed decisions rather than reacting out of fear. Another practical step is creating a personal file containing key Social Security information. This can include benefit notices, earnings records, tax documents, correspondence, and other materials that may become useful later. Many seniors who successfully resolve benefit issues have one thing in common: documentation. Good records often help clarify misunderstandings and support requests for review. As Social Security continues reviewing records and processing eligibility information, overpayment notices will remain a reality for some beneficiaries. That means awareness is important. Most people never imagine they could receive such a letter. Yet it happens every year. Being prepared can make a significant difference. The key message is simple. Do not ignore an overpayment notice. Read it carefully. Verify the information. Understand the reason for the claim. Review your records. Pay attention to deadlines. Explore your rights. Determine whether an appeal may be appropriate. Consider whether a waiver request applies to your situation. Review repayment options if necessary. And keep documentation that supports your position. The sooner you respond, the more opportunities you may have to protect your benefits and avoid unnecessary financial strain. To summarize, Social Security overpayments can occur for many reasons, including earnings changes, disability reviews, reporting issues, family circumstances, delayed processing, and administrative errors. Receiving a notice does not automatically mean you must accept the determination without question. Appeal rights, waiver requests, repayment arrangements, and supporting documentation may all play important roles depending on your situation. Ignoring the notice can lead to serious consequences, including reductions in benefits, while timely action may help protect your monthly income. Review your records. Open every Social Security letter promptly. Verify any information that affects your eligibility.